It's essentials that I've noticed that we need, I guess, not only in like a relationship level of like building friendship, but in also a friendship level. These are a few things that I've noticed that every Christian needs to keep in mind when building a new relationship, or whether it's a friends or something else. So the first thing that I think makes a dynamic duo so dynamic is accountability, which starts off with a very famous Bible verse of Proverbs 27:17, or iron sharpens iron, so as one man sharpens another. What is accountability? Well, accountability is to take responsibility for your actions, whether it's a good responsibility or a bad responsibility, like consequences and such. I know that it's a little sour when you're dealing with consequences. Nobody likes consequences. They're kind of like, ew, consequences. But we all make bad decisions. It's a natural part of Christian social living. We all decide to either it's trust the wrong people or tell someone something that we shouldn't have, or ponernos en el chisme, etc., etc., etc. And there are consequences when we let some things slip out of the tongue. Another thing we got to do is avoid excuses. And with that, I want to share what is probably one of my favorite Bible verses in Philippians chapter 2. As soon as I open it up there, because these things are so small. Ephesians. There we go. Alrighty. All right, Philippians chapter 2. I think it starts in verse 14. Do all things without grumbling or disputing. Basically saying, do everything without excuse, so that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent, children of God above reproach in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you appear as lights in the world. This is 14 to 15 of Philippians chapter 2. This is probably one of my favorite verses in the Bible because it covers a lot of things. One, I hate homework as much as the next guy. Homework, like I told myself, if I was a teacher, I'd probably not give homework. Like, I hate homework. So, with that said, I would always come up with a weird excuse of, I'd be the kid who never did his homework in high school. I'm the bad student, right? I'm not this guy who sat in front of his computer. Yeah, I look like a nerd or something, but it was more of a video game nerd, not really a study nerd. Like, to study for an AP test, I played Assassin's Creed to toughen up my history. I was not the best student. So when my teachers all asked me, why are you failing my class, man? I said, look, I got to help my family and I'm trying to find a job. And that was basically my go-to excuse. I would be the excuse guy. I'd just pull them out of my pocket. Like, okay, which excuse do I use now? So we move on to the next one. So that you will prove yourselves to be blameless and innocent, children of God above reproach in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. Because we all know it's bad out there. So this is when you do things for the Lord and you're out there on the streets, whether you're composing yourself as a Christian, as you should, you're gonna sit there and sometimes you're gonna be put in an uncomfortable situation. Are you gonna make an excuse of the uncomfortable situation that you're in because you don't want to get called out as the things they tell people about Christians out there? We're supposed to be the light of the world. Yes, it is a crooked and perverse generation out there. Things are slowly kind of going a huge 180. Evil is good and good is bad. It's backwards. And that backwards sense of logic that the world has, I usually tell people, I found this, thing I found on the internet. It said, you can surround yourself with 100 people who don't care about you, and you'll still probably feel lonelier than if you were alone in your bedroom. Right? You can surround yourself with people to distract yourself from the whole crooked and perverseness of this generation, trying to find yourself a distraction out of these situations, these uncomfortable situations, trying to put yourself with people that you're having things in common with. Think people that, you can go toe to toe and you can have a long discussion. Like, tell me, I want to have a conversation about cars, or I want to have a conversation about video games. Okay, I can talk for hours about building a computer or building a car or et cetera, et cetera. But now you tell me, okay, I want to talk about chemistry. I will sit there and think you are speaking in hieroglyphics, right? How do you combat that situation where you're going to sit there and tell people, hey, I may not have common ground with you, and humble yourself to kind of like have them teach you about said situation? Because someone's testimony can change the way they see things, or the way you see things. The next thing that I've noticed a lot of people don't give anymore is called support. And for that one, I want to turn to Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 12. For those who know me recently, I've been studying this book quite often. And the book of Ecclesiastes is a very interesting book because he tells you that everything but God is pointless. Whether it's money, whether it's someone attractive, whether it's the high life, or being a workaholic so you can make the money, it's all pointless if it's not for God. Oh wait, here you go. So it's here. There you are. Ecclesiastes 4:9 through 12 says, turn 10 pages. 4:9 through 12. Go. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. For if either of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. But woe to the one who falls where there is not another to lift him up. Furthermore, if two lie down together, they keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? And if one can overpower him who is alone, two can resist it. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart. So, okay, this is where what makes a dynamic duo so dynamic comes into play. They help each other out. Robin always helps Batman, and in turn, Batman always helps Robin, whether it's Robin 1, 2, 3, or 4, if you know your Robins. There are like 4, 5 different Robins now. Spider-Man and Miles Morales, that's another one. That's one of my personal favorite dynamic duos. I love those guys. So true friends will always support you in the good, the bad, and the ugly. They stick around when no one else will. Like, who do we have and it's a question, who do we have in our lives to snap us back into reality when we have the desire to just dip? Because one of the reasons that I played a lot of video games growing up in high school was because I was really bad and really depressed. If you don't know me, well, I converted in high school. Around the age of 16 is when I kind of started going to church, but after I graduated is when I really started turning my life towards Jesus. Throughout my life in high school, I was intensely depressed, and I would use my ability to play video games to escape the depressing reality that everything, like Solomon in Ecclesiastes, everything is pointless. I tried finding a purpose and a point to everything in life, and I found out it's pointless. So with that said, when it came to the point in my life where I said, okay, God is a good, in my mentality at the time, I said, God is probably a good reason for me to do things. And through that, it became a huge snowball into, I guess, now. What you think is a bad situation one day may be a good situation another day. I've had countless times where I have been in bad situations, and I will get to that. Because I kind of want to, through these points, I kind of saw myself in places where, I saw a personal reflection of myself in. So it's kind of like a 50-50, because I see myself many times in these verses, and, they say the Bible's a mirror. When I looked at these verses, I saw so many reflections. It scared the bejeebus out of me. It was bad. You read the Bible sometimes, honestly, you fall asleep reading the Bible because it takes a lot of, brain to get that book. And a lot of time and a lot of patience, a lot of self-control for you to really understand the Bible, in a sense. So when you get to these complicated books like Ecclesiastes, I say James and 1 Peter and Deuteronomy and Numbers, and it's a lot of information coming into your head, or the history books like Acts that sometimes are a drag to read. They all have a point to it, and all of it is Christological or pointing to Christ. So the third point, and this is where I'm kind of going to start dragging it on a little bit, is vulnerability. We need to be able to be vulnerable. I have from all the stuff that's happened in my life, I have if you were to count how many barriers I have in Great Walls of China, I have 7. I have 7 Great Walls of China. And whoever wants to come into my life has to start chipping away at these Great Walls of China just to get to the nice mushy core. And there, it's 2 Corinthians 12, 9, 10. Right? We don't like exposing ourselves and being transparent to others. I don't like it. I know some of us don't like it. Some of us can talk to everybody about anything and be completely open. And to that, I salute you. I am not one of those people. It's very tough when you meet someone new, and we all have we all kind of discern ourselves in different levels of okay, this person can know this much about me, and this person can know that much about me, and I don't trust this other guy too much, so I'm not really going to let him know anything about me. And we kind of put people in different levels and ranks in our life. But the thing about the church is we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to be able to talk to each other about our problems. It says in the Bible, when one brother has a problem with another brother, they talk it out. And if they can't figure it out, then they got to bring someone else in. And then if they can't resolve it then they bring someone else in. And if they can't do it then they bring it to the church. We need to be able to have this inner circle. It doesn't have to be big of 20 people. It could be 2 or 3. These 2 or 3 people you do life with. I'm trying to find the people to do life with, and I've slowly started accepting the fact that I'm going to do life with them. Finding these people that you do life with is people you can trust, people you can be open with, people you can that can see the transparency within you. In this generation of fake, you want to be real. You don't want to be fake. You don't want to drag on and try to pretend to be something you're not. I'm not going to sit around and pretend to be a chemistry geek. No, I'm going to tell the other guy, hey, I'm not a chemistry geek. I'm a computer geek, though, so I'll teach you computers. You teach me chemistry. Fair game. We tend to pretend that we know everything out there when in reality we know nothing. We sit there and try to pretend that we can tell people and teach people about things we don't know. And if we're all a body, why are we all different parts of the body? If we know everything, then why are we not the same part of a single body? Why aren't we all just the hand or the foot or the leg? We're all different parts. We all have different talents. We all have different things that we do. Why are we going to condense ourselves to one ideology? Why are we going to condense ourselves to this thought process of, hey, I know everything and you know nothing? Fun fact, my cousin, you guys don't know him, one of my cousins has that ideology. When I visit him, he tends to always be right. Doesn't matter how wrong he is. You can show him in his face. Like one time he tried doing a truck thing. He was like, I want to buy a truck, but I want to buy this motor. I want it with this motor and this, da-da-da-da-da. I said, okay. He told me, I think, he wanted a Hemi and a Ford F-150. And I told him, Hemi is Dodge, not Ford. So he was like, no, esto qué, no sé qué cosa. And I was like, okay. So I looked up what brand Hemi is for, and I go, it's Dodge. And I'm like, no, bro, I'm getting a Ford F-150 with a Hemi. And I said, dude, why are you so dense? Why are you so closed off to the point where I can't even show you something? Where you can choose to say, hey, yes, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. So then there comes a time when we realize that sometimes these people that we bring into our life is not meant to be part of our lives for the long haul. And God has an ultimate purpose for this. The one thing we deal with as Christians a lot is this process of finding friends and then being abandoned or being lonely. You're lonely but not alone. And you hear people tell you this all the time. Why? Because, oh yeah, you have God. Okay. When I grew up, I would cry myself to sleep because my dad would tell me, hey, let's go get ice cream, and then never show up. And I was the only one out of me and my two younger sisters who would sit in the porch, wait for him. It would be 12 o'clock. Carvel was closed, by the way, already by like 12 o'clock, but I would still wait. 12, 1. And it'd be 1:30 in the morning. My mom told me, no, go inside. You know he's not coming. And I said, Mom, he's coming. Relax. He's coming. He's just taking a shower. And I would wait. That shower took hours and hours and hours and hours. And I never got to that. So after I graduated high school and I started getting more into the faith, I started clashing heads with my mom. When I had started clashing heads with my mom, we kind of never saw eye to eye. Because she had one mentality and I had the other. And me being stubborn and her being stubborn, we got to a point where we just blew up on each other. We blew up on each other, and I left for like 2 months. I moved out of my house. My mom didn't want anything to do with me for those 2 months. So, it was a very lonely time for me. The only person that helped me was my atheist friend. And he was like, yo, yeah, come here. I guess they knew what that was like. His parents knew what that was like. I didn't, I've had friends. I've had people in my life that I've cared about abandon me and leave me alone in the gutter like it was nobody's business. They didn't care. My dad especially. I got into cars to make my dad proud. And where is he now? So what are we going to do in these times? So that's why I want to share with you guys Isaiah 41:10. Now this is a little fast, but let me get there. Isaiah 4, I want to read this because it kind of blew my mind a little bit. Isaiah is always a very prophetic book. It tells you about a lot of things that in that time weren't really happening. So a lot of people looked at that book and they were like, what the heck are you talking about? 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, surely I will help you. Surely I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Now, who's sitting at the right hand of God? Jesus. That was the scary part of me reading that verse that kind of slapped me in the face once. Jesus became accountable when he didn't need to. Jesus put himself in a vulnerable position for us when he didn't need to. Jesus supported us and everyone, including his disciples, when they didn't support him. And they left him alone. When it came time that he was alone, taking 40 lashes and getting that crown of thorns, taking the cross, once they got there, it was too late. Peter denied him 3 times. Judas betrayed him. Thomas doubted him. And he still did all of that. How many people do we abandon without even intentionally doing it? How many people do we leave alone in the gutter and not take time to ask, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, I sit down and I know what some of y'all pointed out, I tend to look out everywhere. And I look around because not, hey, I'm being a creep, looking around at you people or whatever. It's because I try to be as observant as I can, because I know what it's like to have a bad day for a whole week. I know what it's like to have a bad day all the time. I had a job where I worked $4 an hour. I am a U.S. citizen. I do not need to be working for $4 an hour. But you know why I did it? Because my mom needed help with bills. I left Miami-Dade College to go help my mom with bills, so I can work full-time for $4 an hour so I can help my mom pay the bills at the end of the month. I know what it's like to sit there and just be a slave, basically, to just try and make ends meet because your parents are struggling and it's your mom by herself raising 3 kids. And as the days dragged on and on and on, and I saw no end, when I left that job and I went to my second job, which was the antique parts, I felt a weight off my shoulders. I felt like I can do things. I felt like I could go back to school, even though I kind of didn't until recently. But you sit there and you look at your life and you realize all the mistakes that you have, all the consequences you'd have to push through. And sometimes we still don't see the mistake. Sometimes we're too stubborn to sit there and look at the mistakes that we make and learn from them. Sometimes we sit there and we don't like listening to the people who are there to support us and help us and hear about our problems when we try to be transparent. You know, when you try to judge people and you talk behind their backs, it kind of gives people this bad feeling like, hey, I can't tell you anything because then you're going to tell everybody else. Why? We're supposed to be the loving church, right? And I asked you guys these questions because I want you guys to think how you guys treat people out there, how you guys treat people in here. Because this isn't really a teaching for me to tell you the basics of how to build relationships. This is more of a Q&A of, hey, reflect and think on how you treat people out there. So, because, 1, 2, 3 empty, like, whole rows of pews. We could fill them up. We're closing ourselves off to this nice little circle of people that we're comfortable with. And yeah, that's fine, but God doesn't call us to be comfortable. Do you think Jesus was comfortable when he had 2 giant nails, one in each of his hands? No. Do you think Jesus was comfortable when he was being whipped, when he was going through that whole ordeal? No, he was not comfortable, but he knew he had to do it. I'm not comfortable up here right now. Heck, I hate public speaking. Put me in front of my PC and I'll talk all night, but put me in front of a crowd of people and I think I want to crawl into my turtle shell. You know? So I want you youth to think about these things. Think and really start thinking. Don't let people think for you. Don't just follow someone blindly without doing your research first. Think. Think for yourselves. If we were supposed to think for each other, we'd be a hive mind. But we're not a hive mind. We're all individuals who have free will and the ability to think freely and have our own judgments and opinions on the uncertain matters. And that's how we were built. That's how God designed us. So why are we treating ourselves, God's creation, as a hive mind? Oh yeah, this person thinks this. Let's all think the same thing. Person? No. What God thinks, I believe it 100%. What a person thinks, I'm doing my research first. Sorry. I've learned to trust everyone a little. But with all the stuff I've been through, it's really hard for me to trust someone a lot. And I mean really hard. And I've been working on it. I have been working on it. I trust a few people. Just, it takes time. Time for you to put yourself in a position where you just step out of your comfort zone and you kind of expose yourself completely instead of hiding behind like a shield. A lot of us like to do that when it comes time to talk about the deep stuff. Like, hey, I've been through this. Hey, I've been through that. Yeah. But maybe the person you decide to open up to out of the blue, because it's happened to people before. Hey, I've dealt with, like, let's say I've dealt with drugs. And then this guy that you never talked to in your life is like, bro, you know what, bro? I used to deal with drugs and blah, da, 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 da. And you know you're in the church and all this stuff. And it's like, what? I never would have thought that the one person I see pass by in the church was one of those people. Like, you hear people say this a lot. Church is for the sick, not for the healed. So, if we're healed, let's bring some broken people in here and let's help them out. Because I used to be completely broken. And fun fact, the person that brought me to church the first time wasn't someone evangelizing. It wasn't a pastor who came to my house and said, hey, you should come to church because one of my members said we should visit you. No, it was one of my friends that I've known since kindergarten and high school. He tells me one day, after I went through this whole mental breakdown, he tells me, let's go to church. And I said, no. I said, I'm never going to church. I don't like church. Church is whack, as I said it. He says, come on, bro, let's go to church. I said, no. I don't want to touch church. I don't want to look church. I don't even want to see church. I don't want to know about the church. The church isn't going to do anything for me. That's what I said. So he goes, let's go to church, bro. And I said, no, I'm not going to church. So I closed the door, and he's like, whatever, and he goes off into his car. My mom tells me, my mom didn't know how deep I was going to get into church that day. If she was, she probably wouldn't have said what she said, I promise you. She tells me, you should go to church, Papa. Come on, just go once, and then that's it. I said, fine, I'll go one time. That's it. So I can get all of you to stop bugging me about this church business. I walked into church that day. I haven't left. That's how I came to Christ. Because one kid, my best friend since kindergarten from high school, brought me to church. So all you people in high school, all you people in college, all you people in middle school, bring a friend to church. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they're broke. You don't know if they're struggling, living in a little like cubicle-sized deficiency with their parents because that's all they can afford. Bring broken people here. You don't know what their story is, and we would like to know. We would like to help them. And I guess, yeah, those are my 2 cents. Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, cool. Those are my points on what I believe to be the essentials of socializing. Accountability. We need to help each other. Support. Well, accountability, we need to be responsible for each other. We need to call, if we gotta call you out, if I gotta call you out, you know I will call you out. Like you tell me, yo, I messed up. I will tell you, you messed up, okay, and I will call you out. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna help you get through it. If you messed up and told me, hey, I did this. Hey, I'm sorry, I know I messed up, but I did this. I'd be like, all right, you messed up. That's fine. We all mess up. We're all human. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to help you fix it. And you see, us Cubans, if we cannot find, you see, the fun thing about Cubans building cars is one thing. If you can't find the part, you make it. If I had to put a generator engine in a Jeep Willys from 1956 to make that Jeep Willys run, those Cubans will do it. Like if you go to Cuba, you will see these crazy inventions you never would have thought of. It blew my mind. I would sit there because that's what would come into my job. My antique job was literally a bunch of Cubans who come from the island of Cuba into this nice little American store and go, hey, pa un Chevrolet Bel Air del 56, dame like, and they would tell me, pa un Mercedes 5 cilindros de petróleo. I'm like, why would a Mercedes diesel engine touch a Chevy Bel Air? That's like, to me, that I'm like, no, please, no. I don't like that. Like every time I had a little itch in my eye telling me, no, that hurts. But it's out of necessity. To them, they don't have the 1986 Corolita. To them, they don't have the brand new Mercedes. They're stuck with cars from 1950 something with a nice little plastic box for air conditioning and a diesel engine because they got nothing else left to make their car run. We need to call each other out. We need to support each other when things go south. We need to put ourselves in vulnerable positions so that we can get the support and accountability that we need. And when time and things get tough and we're all stuck alone and abandoned, understand there are people like here in the church that love you, and there are people who will not abandon you. And surely, God will never abandon you. Those are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Javi. Thank you, man. Let's do this in the spirit of what he was explaining to us. Why don't we bow our heads, close our eyes, and I want you, before we pray, to think about the 1 or 2 people in your life that God has strategically placed that you are not taking advantage of, that you're not speaking to, you're not letting them hold you accountable, you're not inviting them in some of the dark areas of your life. Close your eyes. Pray if you can't think of names. And if you do, if 1 or 2 names come to your mind, start praying for them right now. There are 1 or 2 people in your life right now that you're not thinking about when you pray, you're not thinking about when you mess up. That can be a part of your life. And ladies, it's probably not your boyfriend. Boys, it's probably not your girlfriend. It's probably a brother that's fallen on the wayside, maybe someone that you haven't responded to in a little while. Maybe you're sitting here like, Joe, I don't know anyone. Would you begin to pray and say, God, would you bring me someone? Would you bring me someone? I want to be held accountable. I want to be able to, like Javi was saying, be transparent. I don't want the 7 walls of China to put a distance between me and true healing and true friendship. And if you're sitting here today and you're like, man, you know what? I've been asking God, what can I do? How can I be used? How can I serve you? And you haven't really fallen on anything. This call is for you. If you're someone that's willing to be a friend, to hold someone else accountable, to be vulnerable, to walk with someone throughout their hardships, if you're saying in your heart right now, Joe, I want to be that guy that someone calls, why don't you stand up? Why don't you be the person that says, I'll be there for people. I'm not going to just be selfish. I'm not just going to be for myself and for my own agenda. I want to be that person. I want to be the person that gets a call at 1 a.m, a text message at 5 a.m. and says, man, I need someone to pray for me. I need someone to be there for me. I don't want to just sit and worry about myself. I want to stand and worry about others, to be concerned about the people that God has put in my life. I'd invite you one more time. If you're wondering, God, how could you ever use me? This is right where you need to be used. If you want people to look to you for help, for support, for companionship, for friendship, and you're willing to kind of dive into their own mess, I'd invite you to stand up right where you are as a symbol that says, man, I'm in it. I'm not perfect. I'm not even really good, but I'm willing. I'm willing. Let's pray. Father, thank you for these young people that are deciding to be available. They're saying, God, I'm available. And they're telling their peers that are sitting in this room, I'm available. If you need me, I'm here. And students, if you're sitting here and you're like, man, I can't stand up because I need someone to get my back. Well, without getting too distracted, I want you to peek up your head so you can see how many people are standing up. There are people here. There are people here that are willing to talk to you, listen to you, to be your friend, to drop their differences and to help you walk through this life. Father, thank you, because we do have a community. There are people that are here for us, that we are not alone. We don't have to go through life and struggles by ourselves. We can, like Javi's friend, make an insistent invitation to come to church, and not only to come to church, but to be a part of our lives. Father, we want to be those people. Help us. It doesn't matter where we come from or what our past looks like, or we go to church. What matters is that we believe in you and we want to help those that love you. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. And for those that are standing, I just want to challenge you. And for those that are sitting too that punked out and didn't stand, but they want to be a part of this challenge, I challenge you to contact one or two people that you know in your life right now, whether you hang out with them all the time or you haven't seen them in a minute, that you don't intentionally ask these questions. How are you really doing? How can I pray for you? What's going on in this area of your life? Is there anything that's going on that you want to tell someone but don't feel like you can? Let me tell you, those are powerful questions. They're dangerous questions too. So tread lightly. You may hear things that you won't ever be able to forget and never be able to share with anyone else. It's the challenge with bearing the burdens of other people, because you bear the marks on your shoulder too. But what a privilege it is to suffer for the people that you love, for the people that love Jesus and that Jesus died for. It is my privilege. I stand here because sometimes in the end I sit down and I talk, but I'm intentionally standing, I guess, to say that if you ever need anything, and I mean this, if you ever need anything, not like money, because I don't have money, okay? So don't ask me. Maybe if it's like $10, maybe I got you. If you need anything, if you say to yourself, Joe, I could never tell this to anybody, I bet you're lying. You could tell me. You will look at me differently. I already look at you different, so it's not going to make a difference. You won't love me anymore. No, it's wrong. And I know Sarah well enough to know that she does that better than I do. Sarah's here. I'm here. Ainer's here. Okay? You have leaders here. Mike. If you don't know who Mike is, it's because he's been lost for a minute. And when you see him, make fun of him. Tell him off. He was almost here tonight. He's here for you. We want to know what you're going through. Because you know what's a fear of mine? And I imagine it's for you too, now being a part of the Christian faith and wanting to like never let someone be where you were, right? As you were telling your own testimony. I never want someone to live their life saying, man, I didn't have anybody. Or for them to do something that they can never take back. To put themselves in a situation where they can never reverse their decisions. And maybe if someone was available to listen and talk to them, it would have changed their life. So I say with all of you that are standing, I'm here for you. And if you were waiting for a sign, people that need and are looking for someone, this is your sign, right? This is God showing up and saying, here are the people that you can reach out to. They don't look and sound like maybe you thought they were. And, man, does God have a plan for your life as it involves his church? Thank you, Javi, so much for bringing a very necessary word to us. Let's thank him again one more time, because that's if you think that's easy, I invite you to preach next Saturday, okay? To see how easy you think it is. Those that are standing can sit down, and if you want to serve in other ways in our church, please let me know, because I want to help you become equipped and give you opportunities. If you notice one thing about how we do things here in student ministry at EDB is that it is not one guy running the show, okay? It's not me, man. Really, it isn't. A lot of people say that, and then you look, and they're like, yeah, but it kind of is. And I pray that it never is like that here, because I don't like that, especially in student ministry. It's about the collective effort. And so Javi, you're going to be seeing him more often. He's going to seminary, to NOBTS, feels a call to ministry and to preach. And so we're going to give him opportunities to do that. It's important that as people are, I remember my first few messages, and in different settings and contexts, there were things that I wish the loving, intentional, audience that was paying attention and taking notes to tell me, hey man, this point was encouraging to me. Encouraging him is going to help him continue to do better and to communicate God's word, because, man, let me tell you, I'm inspired, right? I want to be more accountable, more transparent. I want to help more people because of what he said. And so I hope that you feel that way too. And let's encourage him as we do that. And then everyone else that comes up here, right? All the people that lead worship, that play instruments. This is a service that they do for God, but they do it with us, right? They do it for us, right? And that's wonderful. And I just want to thank everyone that serves. The ones that don't get any credit and all the criticism up there, thank you so much. All right? And I say all the criticism because there was no lyrics today, right? But I know how difficult it is to do everything. At least I know in theory, because I don't have to do it. You do. But I appreciate you guys. And this is your student ministry. If you're from Elevate, we can set you up with a dual citizenship, and you're allowed to come here and do everything except vote except for voting. You can't vote, but you can eat and hang out and chill. All the benefits are there for you, right? None of the obligation. We love that you're here. We want you to be faithful in your church. So if you're a primary citizen at Elevate, you better be there, okay? And if they have online services, you better be connecting. If you're a part of Coral Park, you better be there. And if they don't have in-service or on-campus, does anybody else want the mic? I hate that, man. I don't know how your teachers even tolerate some of you. No, I'm just kidding. Not kidding, sort of kidding, like in the middle of kidding. Well, let it hurt because... So, Coral Park, same deal. And then Estrella Belén, you guys, no excuse. We're in here. Unless you are immunocompromised or you have some phobias about the end of the world, and you better be connecting with us online or coming here on campus. 9:30 if you want to have lunch and go out and hang out with the family, or at 11 if you wake up late and like to just hang. And so we'll be at 11 here. High school students, young adults, you'll be here at 11, not over there. Junior high, you will be with Aurora and Awana. And now, I'm done talking. We're going to go play dominoes. And if you guys want, you can play Monopoly, that's fine. We can also see if we can get the game on tonight. If you guys like that, we can watch the game. And then if you guys want to order food, right? If you want to order food, then we need to pull together money, okay? And then you guys can buy some stuff, okay? So let's do this. Do me a favor. Let's all head over to the cafeteria. If you can help me making sure that that's open, and